Anybody who could tell you what Predestination is about would be lying. I have no idea what it's about, but I enjoy trying to figure it out. It's based on a Robert Heinlein short story written in 1959 called All You Zombies, which is a little misleading because it makes it sound like it's about zombies, which it's not. It's making the point that all of humanity is basically a functioning zombie. And one could venture a theory that it's about the interconnectedness of man. One could venture it's about the pointless nature of man. I mean, I don't know. It's about a lot of things, but it follows a special agent who's working in time travel and is on a mission to stop a terrorist. That's the basic plot. Well, see, I know Peter and Michael, and I met them years ago and felt very clearly that they have a unique voice in movies. And it's hard to say what that is. But when people have a voice, whether it's in writing or music or anything in cinema, you kind of feel it. And they have something that's unique to them that I really respond to. And I think they're really smart and funny. And they have the same taste in genre movies that I do, which is a certain kind of genre movie that is just stupid and designed to waste your time and help you get to death more quickly without thinking. And then there's another type that can entertain you and be wildly entertaining, but also leave you with a subcurrent of something to think about, which is slightly better than, a movie that's designed to be deep or meaningful or something like that. Sometimes feels like it's teaching you and is a little boring and is not what you want to do after a hard day's work. But if a movie can be simultaneously really entertaining and be about something, it can hit the bullseye for me. And I think Peter and Michael have an eye for that. And so anything I heard about this movie was heard through the was heard through their voice. And so I was inclined to like it because I like them. Well, one of the things that's hard about doing these things is that is a process that is happening. It didn't happen, so we don't really know. We don't know to what extent we're on uncharted territory. There's no kind of rule book for how to do that. Our characters are either oddly similar or exactly the same, depending on how you view it. And there's no rule about how we're supposed to do that. For people that are familiar with the short story All You Zombies, it won't be such a mystery, you know. And for us, I think it's always a question of differentiating yourself and finding some kind of sameness. But hopefully the sameness will really come from the tone of the movie. Well, one of the things that makes this movie so unique is that about 50% of it takes place in this bar. And yet, the film itself travels over 60 years and wild events, but it's all centered around a very simple story being told while two people get drunk. So that in itself is kind of unique and a nice device for a movie. But again, I don't really know how to describe that because we're trying to figure that out now. It's a very difficult thing to do. I remember I've had to do similar things. If you do the movie right, people don't really notice it, but Training Day is a film I did where about 70% of it happens in the front seat of a car. If you make the movie right, nobody really thinks about that. But it all has to happen in the minutiae of two characters interacting with each other. And if that stuff is real and that stuff is interesting, then it doesn't matter if you're in a subway car or you're walking on the street. It doesn't matter. The hard thing is making the characters interesting and having them respond to each other in an interesting way. this movie is, the fun of it is how much it plays inside different genres, in different, in one aspect it's film noir, another aspect it's sci-fi, and there's something about the old gangsters with their Tommy gun and a violin case that is a great image, and to have a time travel kit be in your violin cases. And there's something about music that transports you through time. And I love that kind of idea that it's just music. Yeah, I'm of that theory. There's no Terminator movie that's better than the first Terminator. The more money they spend and the more amazing the effects get, somehow, for me, they're still fun, but it's certainly not as good as the first one. And I'm not exactly sure why that is, but a lot of the times, if you don't have money to throw at a movie, then you have to throw ideas, and then you just start scouring your brain for a better idea. And if you have money, then why have an idea? Because we could just make this whole bar turn into water, and then it would evaporate, and you could do zombies would fly in, whatever. You can do anything. But I always think all my, the new Star Wars, I really like them, but I like them a lot actually. But they're not better than the old ones. At best they're on par. And it's never effects and stuff that make a film interesting. They can work with effects, it can be an addition, but most of the time people try to rely on that. Just, I don't know why. It makes up for not having an idea. That's what I find most captivating about the movie, or anything having to do with time travel, is the nature of fate and the nature of free will. And why is it in our lives that every time something's happened, it feels like it was inevitable? Like that was the way it was always meant to be. And yet when we're imagining our future, it seems as if it could go in so many thousands of directions. I think that is at the essence of what is interesting about the idea of predestination. I don't know. I responded to it because it's just thought-provoking and entertaining at the same time. Well, my greatest wish for every good director I've ever worked with is I wish I could bestow on them the gift of having a twin. And they could work with their twin, because most directors, let's face it, if they're good, turn into kind of megalomaniacal assholes. Most of them, they think they know everything and they understand everything. But Peter and Michael have the benefit of their brother sitting next to them, like, well, that sounded obnoxious. So they can, well, did you really think that through? And they test each other, and they keep each other humble, and they keep each other hardworking. And it's a wonderful gift to have a best friend, support system. It's all those things geared up in a twin. I see why. I mean, I know they're not twins, but Joel and Ethan Coen work together. So it's a neat idea that to work in partnership really helps, because film is just such a naturally dictatorial position that the idea of a shared thing, it helps the whole thing, because you can agree with Michael and while disagreeing with Peter, or agree with Peter, and then it's fascinating. There's a lot of little avenues for collaboration to happen that aren't normally possible. Unfortunately for them, they have to split their salary, which is a drag.